it's not about the fact that we don't have the ability to do something. It's usually, and I'd say most of the conversations that I have are, the buzzwords that come up, right? Like over the last couple of years, imposter syndrome is definitely a buzzword, right? But it is a real thing. Burnout, also a buzzword, right? But it's a real thing. And I think sometimes we hear these things over and over, and we don't know if we're actually feeling it or should be doing something about it, or have we actually got it, or do we just carry on? And I think that's the thing. People just crack on and are being asked to do more and more and more.
You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes. And welcome to this episode of the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined by Marc Baladi, who is a sales and senior leadership coach, also co-host of the podcast Beyond Enough. The pressure's on today. Marc, welcome, mate.
One podcast host to another, right? I love the thought that you put into my surname. I really appreciate that, Fred. Great to be here, and thanks for the suggestion of coming on after some posts. We talk a lot on LinkedIn together, but we've probably spoken less in person, right?
Yeah, well, it's tend to have been when we both work with my sales coach, don't we? And it tends to be sort of on their learning days and coach days, and there's so many people around, and we're all running around getting excited about stuff. So there is something that you put the other day. I thought, right, this we need to get into, because I think it can be so useful for, well, people in general, but certainly salespeople who are listening to this. And you were talking about capability and effort and struggling with them. In fact, I'll quote the thing that you put, which was, you're not struggling with capability or effort, you're struggling with cognitive load and not knowing exactly what you want to feel at the end of the day, almost every day. I'm just like, wow. And then you went into three kind of ways in which you can sort of start to deal with that, or questions to ask yourself. But let's just break down that initial quote to start with, because you're obviously coming across people who are saying, I'm struggling, mate. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And we both do, right? As coaches. And I think, if we can't be honest with ourselves, I think sometimes conversations that we have maybe with people around us can be really honest. But when sometimes it's maybe a professional conversation, it can be surface level, right? And I think it's not about the fact that we don't have the ability to do something. It's usually, and I'd say most of the conversations that I have are, the buzzwords that come up, right? Like over the last couple of years, imposter syndrome is definitely a buzzword, right? But it is a real thing. Burnout, also a buzzword, right? But it's a real thing. And I think sometimes we hear these things over and over, and we don't know if we're actually feeling it, or we're, should be doing something about it, or have we actually got it, or do we just carry on? And I think that's the thing. People just crack on and are being asked to do more and more and more.
Yeah, they are real things, but I agree with you. I think they're used as buzzwords. Oh, I've got imposter syndrome. Yeah. You just don't really sure how to do this thing. That's not a full-on imposter syndrome thing, which is crippling. I did a full episode on this with an expert on this. Burnout or tired.
Yep.
I'm burnt out every Friday. No, I'm just tired normally. Yeah. That's different to that kind of full-on mental, I don't even really know who I am type thing.
Yeah. And it can feel different to different people, right? Like someone, I had a call this morning, and the person I was speaking to, very, very passionate about well-being, helps 80,000 odd people across their organization to understand what well-being means. And burnout comes up a lot, and they've just lost their manager. And so they are feeling this sense of burnout because they don't have direction, or feel like they don't have direction necessarily. So it can mean different things, and they're feeling burnt out from the fact of, it feels a bit uncertain. And I think a lot of people are going through that feeling of, what am I actually feeling? And so that was another thing that kind of came out in that post, which is, how do I deal with this? Like, what am I actually feeling? What do I want to feel at the end of the day? How do I want to get to the end of my week? And do I want to get into, Friday night, let's say you work on Monday to Friday, and think, damn, I need to do more. I haven't done enough. I've not completed everything. So yeah, it's a really interesting one.
Yeah, feeling guilty.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing, and I didn't do enough of that either. like,
Yep.
whoa, hang on a minute.
There
Why
you
would you
go.
be in that job? And let's have a look and what you've actually achieved and physically done with those hours throughout that week. So
Fred, I've got to say on this one, right? Like you're a trainer, right? And I love when I see your videos, I look at them, I think, wow, like Fred, like he knows his stuff, right? And I think if I was putting myself in that situation of training, of coaching, I wouldn't come across the way that you come across. And we've both been in training, on the receiving end, but we've also given training. And I think you can sit through all the training in the world, but unless you really want to do that thing, is it going to land right in that person's mind? Is it going to be something that's taken action on? And I think that's the point. People know what to do, but they don't know what to do next, or they don't know what the next action should be necessarily.
yeah, well, firstly, it's very kind of you to say so, but but no, you're absolutely right. And I went through a period where I probably started to have a bit of, I wouldn't say it's imposter syndrome, but I started to myself a bit mad because I realized I was trying to save everyone. And people who didn't want to be there, I put more effort into them than the people who did.
Yeah,
It was nuts when you think about it, because I wasn't going to change them. They aren't going to make a difference.
yeah,
And the people who could have, well, guess what? They weren't getting as much
yeah,
attention or as much good stuff as they could. And again, I just stopped and took a moment and reflected on it and thought, right, this is how it's going to be. And I'm going to have to just be comfortable with this. But
yeah.
actually, you don't want to be there, fine. Don't be. And I've actually
Right.
offered to say, just don't go if you want to. I don't really mind because these guys are going to get the attention.
Yeah,
And it's that stopping and taking a moment, isn't it? As to what's actually going on here. And this is what you were talking about in that post we were referring to.
exactly. Yeah, and there'll be people listening that they will remember a training session, a coaching session, a conversation with somebody where suddenly it just hit, and something happened in their body, in their thought process, and they went away and they did something about it. But you'll also remember the sessions, or not, that nothing happened and you didn't take anything from it. And it works both ways, right? Whether you're in that session and receiving the training or you're delivering it. So yeah, I just think it's really interesting. And that's the point of this, that post. And I appreciate you bringing it up, I should say. And we know what we need to do generally, but sometimes we don't know what we're feeling and what we're going through. And it's that, barrage of loads of things that are coming at us. And it's like, okay, which one do I do? And so I think one of the things in that post was, what are the three things that you just need to do today?
I've actually got it in front of me. I'm reading it here. Yeah. What are the three things that actually, as I'm putting a bit of emphasis on this,
There you go.
actually need to be done? And you put emphasis on this by you. That's in capitals, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Today, brackets or every day, to feel more in control. That's a great
Do you
question. You're a
think,
coach. Of course, it's a good question. But so
and,
just
and,
take a
and it's
moment,
easier.
stop and have a think and kind of get that written down. Be explicit about it. Understand it. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think we can be overloaded with, if you think about a leader that has lots of different things that need to be done that day, right? Some of those things you might be able to delegate them. It might be that someone actually in the team needs to do them or pick up on them. You might actually not be the best person to do that thing. And so, there's this list. If you think of anyone's list, right, which never gets shorter, it only generally gets longer. And that's definitely a theme that I'm picking up on, right? From coaching over the last couple of years, people's lists never get shorter. You get to the end of the day and you think, right, what has happened here? How has this got longer? And it's really frustrating. So I think if you really looked at that list and then said, right, tomorrow, what are the three that I actually need to do? What are the three that I need to focus on? And I was there the other day. And you know what? I had five things on my list and one of them got done. And I was like, who am I? What have I done there? Right?
Well, let's just go into the need to, because there's a
Yeah.
trick that isn't there in defining the what needs to get done. So what would you say around that?
Well, you know, it goes back to the urgent and important, doesn't it? And I think if you've got seven things one day and that turns into 11 things the next day, are you really focusing on what needs to be done and what wants to be, like, what do you want to do? If this is okay, I'll give you an example, right? I had a coach. In fact, my very first coach was in 2018. Michelle, she did some incredible things with me. One of the tasks that she got me to do, and I was coming to sessions out of breath. I was coming feeling uncomfortable. I was a few months into a new role and I had all these different tasks to do, meetings, internal meetings, client meetings. all sorts of different things that I needed to be on top of and needed to be on top of. They weren't things that I necessarily wanted to do, but if I was going to be successful in my role, I needed to do all these things. And she said, Mark, let's just breathe for a second. And I just thought, what? Come on, are you serious? Like, I'd never really, I mean, I was kind of thinking about meditation. I was trying to get into it, a little bit before that. And I do have a practice now, and it's been so helpful for me. But she said, right, for the next 3 days, I'm going to ask you to write down everything that you do for every half an hour period. And I looked at her and I just went, that is never going to happen. She said, yes, it is. She was really serious. She was really, those moments, right? Where it's like, we can joke about these things, but she was very serious. And I did it. And I came back to our next session, which was about 2 weeks later. And we went through these 3 days. And it was just, I was doing all sorts of things because I thought I was meant to be doing them. And I changed things after that. And my life changed completely. My life changed completely from that moment. And it wasn't because of doing that task. It was because she got me to think about things in the way that I wanted to do things, not in the way that I needed to do them. I don't know if that's helpful, but that was incredible.
No, it is. It is. I'd say so because a lot of us just do stuff, and you get into the habit of doing things. Yeah, and then the list thing is one. I've got all these things on my list. Right, I'm going to knock some off. What am I going to knock off? The easy ones.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh,
my
easy.
list gets shorter. Yeah, I don't have any more impacts. I've just done all the easy things. Yeah,
Yeah.
which I didn't. It didn't need to be me doing it anyway, and it's had no impact. Right. So looking at why you're doing all this stuff. Well, that's not urgent. Why are you doing this now? Does not have to happen at this instance.
Mm-hmm.
Schedule the damn thing. Actually, don't schedule it because it's not having any impact. You don't need it. Nobody'd even notice if you didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
They probably usually like it. Okay, we'll put it in there as a bit of fun, but be aware that's what it is. And that's sort of what that coach helped you with, isn't it? And they're just
Mm.
like, yeah, what's making a difference? And just getting rid of some of the nonsense.
I think it also goes back to, and you're amazing with this, right? We talked about the gym and having a practice there. I think a lot of it comes back to the energy that we feel, right? And if we go into the day with, I used to go into my day sometimes, and before doing anything, I would open up my laptop or even on the phone and just go through Slack. And I remember, I can feel it now. Like I feel how I felt then, and it wasn't nice. Like it was not nice. And I talk with people, and you will as well, right? In coaching sessions around, what do you want your routine to look like? What do you want your day, your week to look like? And some people have stopped their practice of going to the gym, or, oh, I can't meditate. That's not for me. I'm too wired, right? Or believing they can't do something, or believing they should be doing something and that they're missing out. But what does it actually mean for you? And if that means taking an hour and putting a meeting in with yourself to go and get on the bike trainer, right, or go out for a little jog, or take your dog out, or whatever it might be, just to breathe for a few minutes, then do it. But I do think, again, a theme that I hear, and I'm sure you hear it as well, is a few people that I know have recently started jobs. They're in the onboarding process, right? It's like the company says, "Don't worry, just take your time, be patient. You're onboarding. There's no rush." But in your head, it depends on what's happened to that person beforehand. The number of people who have been made redundant and then go in to start a new job, who then think, I need to step up here and I need to almost work at 120%. I hate anything above 100% unless it's like a sales target, right? I need to work at 120% to make up for the fact that I was made redundant and I need to put that into this job. That is a unsustainable way of living. And I think it affects a lot of people. So what do you want your day to look like? What can you feed in? What's one little thing that you can do to change about your routine today or this week?
Yeah. So just go back because I was just thinking of the post that you put here. We've got that. What are the three things that need to be done? And then you were asking, are there things or what are the things that are slipping? What aren't you doing? Yeah. Or well, not even slipping, you're just downright avoiding them. You don't want to do them.
Oh,
That was the second sort of in this staged thinking. So we're giving these three things to do.
yeah.
Just talk me through a little bit around that. There's two bits to that, isn't there?
How many times, Fred, have you felt like something slipping, right? You've written a few books. And so let's just go into that, right, as an example. Do you have a daily practice of writing, or do you make a concerted effort to write at certain times of the day or week?
Now, yes. If I was going to write another book, yeah, I would do what I did for the second two. So the first one just sort of happened, but then I got a coach, funny enough. I know we're selling coaching, we're coaches, but look, I mean,
Yeah,
it's because it makes it work. And they're like, okay, this is the way to
yeah,
do it. You have
yeah.
the place, the time, you set it, you do it, it gets done. So I
Okay.
would get up 5 a.m., 5 to 6. It's not sustainable to do this all the time for me. When I get up at 6 anyway, go off to the gym, but I would give myself an hour every day. That's writing time. Do it for an hour, stop, and then the normal day continue.
Yeah,
I'll deal with that for that period of time. I'm getting this thing done because it's a bit different. But yeah, that's how that worked.
that's such a great process. When do you find then, and I love the fact that you shared the difference between the first and then the second two books. When when you think back to some times where you felt like your writing habit slipped, what was happening then and why?
It's when I had to start thinking. Right. So I'll tell you what I mean by that. So when I wrote the second book, I was actually pulling quite a lot from the first. There were some elements which were going to cross over. They were an important part. So I was smashing out the word count daily. Yeah, 4,000 words that day. Oh yeah,
Wow.
5,000
Yeah.
next day. Then I'd start actually writing stuff from my head. Pre-chat GPT days. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
The good
God, I
stuff.
only did 400 words today. 400 words an hour. It's shocking, isn't it? But it's because I'd think, and then other days, yeah, I'd be off and I'd run, and I wouldn't want to stop, but I had to because I got
Yeah.
things. So
So
yeah,
hang on. So you were writing 4,000 words some days,
I
and
was
then
copying them
sometimes it
from
was
words I'd written before.
okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah,
But
when
then,
I
but
had
then,
to write them that I've not written before, that's when we dropped by
yeah.
10x minus, whatever that is.
Yeah, but then, did you find that the pressure you were putting on yourself to write more? So you said those 400 word days were not, they didn't feel successful to you, right?
Yeah, I know where you're going with that. I didn't mind, to be honest, because I knew the process. I'd learned the process by then. People told me that's
Yeah,
what's going to happen, and so, but it doesn't matter because tomorrow you're going to do it again and again and again and again and again, and
yeah,
that's just how it's going to be. And part of the book writing process, you just put words down anyway. You're not even trying to edit it or do anything. Just get
yeah,
the damn thing down. I'd just be stuck on that day. I don't know for whatever reason.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
tackling a tricky thing. I didn't feel like I was tired, whatever. Yeah,
Right. There you go. And without this turning into like a coaching session, right? Like, but I think there are times where you don't feel it, and there are times where you absolutely feel it. A friend of mine sent me over some binaural beats yesterday to work to, and I put these on, and I was just in flow for a
yeah,
good 90 minutes, just smashing things, and it felt great. Some people they can't focus when that's going on, or they have to be in a coffee shop, or they have to be out of their usual environment, whatever it might be, right? But the point is, and I think coming back to that, like how do we stop letting things slip? How do we what are we avoiding, right? That was one of the questions.
yeah.
But it all comes back to, if you need to get up at 5 to start writing, what were you doing the night before? What's your week been like? What's the pressures that you're feeling, like not only work wise but at home? What are you doing to look after yourself? And it's everything. It's all of it. And I think it's this analogy of the stool. I always kind of talk about the stool with three legs. And if one of those legs comes off, you fall over. And I was having this conversation the other day where I always thought about that. And I thought, do not let a leg of that stool slip or fall off. Just, you've got to make it work. They have all got to work at the right time, all together. And if one of them slips, then you're a mess. And that's just not realistic. And that again comes back to putting too much pressure on yourself. So I think that question of what are we avoiding, did you ever feel like you came to a day where you wanted to just avoid writing? Or was it, no, there's a reason why I'm doing this and I believe in it fully?
I, I don't think I did, and you just touched on it there. Is because it was aligned with what I wanted to do.
Mm,
I wanted to do this. I wasn't being made to do this or being forced to. It wasn't part of the job I didn't really want to. I'd opted for this to become part of the job because I
mm,
wanted to do it. Right in line with my values.
yeah.
I got the drive. But I'd avoid it.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
I've got to bring this up, right? But I think I've worked at some incredible companies and absolutely real a pleasure, a privilege to work at them, right? And every company has their mission, their values. And I would say up until probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, I was living the values of the company that I worked at. And I think it's to the point of, you're writing the book because you want to write the book, right? You see the end result as being something that can help other people. Maybe it's a way that it can help other people in the way that it's helped you in your career. or that you've seen in action it help people that you're coaching, for example, or training. I quite literally stole words from mission statements, and I thought, I'm having that. So, for example, right, at LinkedIn, it was helping people to be more productive and successful. For example, that was like, there were some of the words. And at the time, I thought, those are fantastic words. That's a great line. I am definitely going to be, I'm taking them, I'm stealing them. And then I went to, I'm wearing my head, I don't know if you can see it, I'm wearing my Headspace jumper today. And it was all about helping people to be happier and healthier. And then I thought, oh, could I tie in productive, successful, happy, healthy, and make something from that? So then that became my mission statement. And after I don't know, several months of thinking about this and like living that, I just thought, what a complete thief. What an absolute, farce of me thinking about these things. And then I had to kind of really sit down and think, what does it actually mean for me? The word productive can be quite pressured to some people. What does productive mean? Successful, that means different things to different people, right? To you, when you're writing a book, it's like, I really want to launch this book, but every word needs to count. Success means different things to different people. Happiness changes by the minute, by the hour, by the day. It's just up and down, up and down. And so I was looking at all these words and just thinking, they don't mean anything to me. They mean something, but they don't actually mean anything to me. So then I started thinking about what actually I want to do. And really, it's about having meaningful, like we're here today, it's about having meaningful conversations to help improve my quality of life and the people that I'm speaking with, if I can, but without putting the pressure on. So going back to what are you avoiding and what's slipping, I think when people aren't sure of what the thing is that means something to them, I think it's much harder to not slip, and things will slip.
Yep.
Right. Anyway,
I agree 100%. No, no, that's why the last part of ethical selling. So in the sort of, for me, way a book works is sort of like, oh, yeah, this is the thing that's going on, and this is the problem or the issue, or whatever. Yeah, this is kind of how to deal with it, and then this is how you can implement the damn thing. I'm training the other day. Yeah, implementation beats information. Info here is great, implementation better.
mm,
With ethical selling, actually, that whole alignment to values is so key. And so actually there's an exercise in there about do this thing, pick what look like your values, do that. That is kind of where you are, and the things which align to this, you will be happier doing.
yeah,
You will be more consistent. You'll be selling within your own conscience, all that stuff.
yeah.
Selling, living. So, yeah.
It's so important. And also, I think sometimes we read each other's posts, right? Not every single post, but we read each other's posts a lot of the time. And it's, what do you want? How do you get someone to know what is important to you without knowing the other person, right? And we've kind of gotten to know each other more
Yeah.
through what we write, right? Versus the conversations that we have every week, every month. And I think that's the bit that people struggle with. And it's, if I'm going to share something online about me, it's going to need to be perfect. But actually, no, it doesn't need to be. But if you're doing something and you're writing over time, I've had people say to me, Mark, are you a coach? Are you a business owner? Like, what are you sharing? Like, you don't talk enough about coaching and how you help other people. Because I want to talk about stories sometimes. Yeah, I do talk about me. And some people are like, do you want to keep talking about you? And so it really depends. But if you're going to always be worried about what other people think about what you're doing, that's going to be a big issue as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're going off tangent a little bit,
No,
but
we're not, because what we said, we've got the first bit to answer the sort of the capability and effort and struggling with that. What are the
mm,
three things that actually need to be done by you today so you
hmm
feel in control? What's slipping, what you're avoiding? Okay, and we talk about why that is, and we're throwing some very personal examples in. And then I love the last question, the last little bit. Yeah, threes. I love threes anyway. Brain loves threes.
oh yeah, yeah,
That's why you
that's
did three. But if you designed a good enough day today, what would need to be true by 5 p.m.?
mhm.
I love that. Good enough
Five,
day for you.
5 p.m. or 2 p.m.
Whatever.
And this is, and I know I write 5 p.m.
6
right,
p.m. for me because I watch The Chase on plus
so
one.
it's got to be done by then, right? You got to be able to, right, exactly. You got to know when you want to stop. And you know what? That's actually a really good. I'm so pleased that you brought that up. Some people will stop at 5 p.m. or 6 or 7, whatever it is, right? And then, and this comes up a lot. They'll go and they'll be with their family. They'll go and bath the kids. They'll go and make dinner. They'll go and do their thing. And then, do you know what? They'll have to come back and open up the laptop. And do you know what? That was me. That was me for years. And I am really pleased that I did do that, to then see what I didn't want to be doing. And don't get me wrong, there are times when, so a quick story, last week I'm in my garden office here, and last Thursday at the end of the day, probably around 5 p.m. actually, coincidentally, I went outside and I locked up. It was one of those, I've got a door handle where you lock the key and then you pull up the handle, and the handle just came clean off in my hand. And so then the door was shut and I couldn't get back into my office. And so I thought, what am I going to do? Am I going to laugh or cry? Is this going to be a big issue for me? And I had two meetings the following morning, on Friday morning. And I messaged them just to say, hey, I can't get in my office. I am back in now. I've made it back in. Can't get in the office. Do you mind if we do a walking meeting? And we were talking about, I've got a challenge that I want to get my fastest 5K time. And so I thought, I'll just get out and walk and talk. And I think if that handle hadn't have broken, I would have been sat in here doing it here. And some things you do need to do here. Like, it'd be a bit weird doing a podcast conversation on a walk with the dog, right? That'd just be a bit weird. However, your mind works in different ways. And it's like, sometimes I think we need to pull ourselves out of the everyday and force ourselves to do something that maybe we don't think would work for us, but to give it a try, because then that changes the way that you go about your day. So what does good enough look like? 1 out of 5 things got done the other day for me. And I was talking to a friend on the way home from playing football, and he said, imagine if you weren't feeling great that day, you would have got 0 things done. What a lovely thing to say from a friend, right?
Mm.
But I got 1 out of the 5 things done. I was either going to feel really crap about that, or do you know what? That's okay. I'll get most of them done the next day. And that's the point. Everyone has what good enough looks like. And I truly think people do not feel good enough because they're not completing tasks, or they're not completing a project, or deadlines are slipping. And so therefore they take that inside, and then that becomes their identity. I know I'm probably saying this and we want to have a laugh and a joke about these things, but these are pretty serious things, right? People
Yeah, no, that's it.
take that inside and they feel like that's them, and it becomes an even bigger issue, right? It's not just about that day then.
No, I think it is serious. And I think I might have succumbed to this a little bit in that, yes, I want to do this thing. Now, this thing is probably quite a big thing. And I ain't got it done. And I started to get all stressy about it. It's like, but you
Yeah.
weren't supposed to get it done today. It is a
Right.
project. There's a clue in what we call these things. And so break it down into the smaller chunks. By the end of the day, the week, the month, whatever it was, did you do those things which are seeing you on track?
Yeah.
That sounds such basic advice. But do we always do that? Do we say, well, that's what I need to get the thing done. Let me actually
Mm.
work it backwards. So all I need to do are these things there. That's good enough. I
Yeah.
did 3 actually. Why? Because I was in the flow. I felt like it. Hey, well, you've done better. Well done, you. Crack on.
So true.
It,
Yeah.
and we don't. Sometimes, and I don't know, I'll start punching back at this a little bit. Everything's broken. Things are rubbish. Old way bad. New way better. Mine's the new way, by the way. Purchase it from me. No.
Mm-hmm.
No. A lot of the old way is good. Yeah, there might be a few tweaks and stuff, but let's not throw the baby out of the bathwater on good, solid ways of operating. So,
Totally. Yeah.
yeah.
And then, no, I agree. I completely agree. And I remember people first, or when people were recommending that I get into journaling, right? And that can be I don't like to call it journaling necessarily, because it can feel like a big thing, right? But one of my favorite journals helps you to sort of structure what your week is going to look like. And then it's got like a page for each day of that week. And by the way, I do not do this every week or every day necessarily, but I've got a bit of a theme going on, so that I've got a rough idea of where I need to go. And what though, recently I look back at some of my old journals, because I do keep them, and that's how sad I am. But I was looking through this page and I thought, I didn't know how I was registering what was on the page at the time. And we're going back 3 or 4 years now. And there was just too much. There was just way too much. And the reason I like the format of look at your week and what are the big things that you want to get done this week, and then breaking that down into, okay, well, which days are realistic? You might have a full day of meetings one day. You might be traveling one day. So it's not realistic to fill those things in on those days. I know that's very basic, but journaling doesn't have to be a big thing. It's just the process of writing down and thinking about what you're going to be doing just helps the brain move. And if you can achieve one small thing, or write 300 or 400 words one morning, what an amazing position to be in, because you're making progress. And I don't want to be all cliche about it either, but yeah, those little things help, I think.
Yeah, no, I think it does. As we start to wrap up, you put these three things in place, which we've been talking about, or these three questions to ask yourself, and it's kind of just, again, if I just read directly what you wrote, stop chasing perfection and start figuring out your operating baseline. That's what we're talking about here. It's like they're the thing you need to do. That's it. Not someone else's baseline, because that comparisonitis is, well, that's a whole different podcast. But just
Yeah.
they're the things you need to do. Crack on with that. Be happy. Celebrate them. And the sort of the I suppose it's not really a call to action, but the last thing you said is like the reason you have a job is because the work cannot and will not get done in a day.
No.
Yes, bingo.
Right.
That's why I'm here. I'm going to be here
Yeah.
tomorrow and the day after and the day after.
Yep.
Yeah,
How many, two things. How many people do you know that feel that imposter syndrome going into a new role? Am I going to be good enough? But then also, how many people do you know that when they start talking to you about things, they're always trying to be perfect at the thing that they're trying to achieve?
yeah. It's too many is the answer to your question. But I could probably do with being a little bit more perfect. I'm of the prolific beats perfect and done is better than.
Progress over perfection.
Yeah,
Totally. Yeah, no,
but that's
hey, I
just
feel the same. I feel the
yeah,
same. But that's the point, right? Can't we all? And don't we all think the same thing?
yeah, we do.
I could do more. I could do better. And all these motivating things that come out, whether it's a podcast or, you turn on the radio and it's like these things and people are achieving. And then you think, what have I done? What have I done today? That feeling, right? Yeah.
I got 15 questions right of my own on the chase. Result. Got more
Yeah.
than the team.
Yeah. Bonus.
Winner.
Winner. It's true
Oh,
though. No, thanks, Fred.
so
I
we
really
we
appreciate
could
that.
go like this for ages. But so where can people get in touch with you? Maybe people are hearing, they can sort of see where you're coming from, want to chat a little bit more.
Mm.
Where's the best place to get in touch?
Yeah, I don't know if everyone says this, but generally LinkedIn. I have someone that helps me sort of arrange my calendar, Carl, who's amazing. I couldn't do my job without him. So would be wrong for me not to mention him. But yeah, LinkedIn, just easy to find Marc Baladi on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect,
We'll
love
be
to
'cause
chat.
we'll pop the link into the show notes anyway. So
Yeah, appreciate it, Fred.
find that
Thanks for
straight
this.
away.
I really
No,
appreciate you. And yeah, really enjoyed it as well. Let's do it again
no, me
sometime.
too. Yeah, good fun. And look, hopefully people can take a little bit from this and just make lives a little bit easier.
Yeah, everyone's good enough. Thanks, Fred.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the Collaborative Selling Scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.